Hello everybody, I'm back with another video, and today in this video I'm going to talk about a short story from a compulsory English book grade 11, and the title of the story is Civil Peace, written by Chinua Achebe. He is a Nigerian writer, and in this story we see the post-war effect of Nigerian civil war in Nigeria. They faced a civil war in the year 1967 when this group of people from Igbo tribe, they wanted to have a different nation, and they wanted to be separated from Nigeria. So they wanted to have their own independent country in the name of independent Republic of Biafra. So in course of time they fought with each other to set a different nation for themselves, and it was until 1970 they had civil war. They had a long history of British colonization until the year 1960. They were colonized by British. So after British colonization, they became independent of British government, but they had civil war in the year 1967. So it lasted for 3 years, and in the year 1970, Igbo tribal people surrendered, and eventually it was supposed to have they were supposed to have a civil peace in Nigeria. The title is very ironical. Even after the surrender of those people who were seeking for independent state for themselves, and they wanted to be separated from Nigeria, there was no peace. They had financial problem, they had poverty, and they were starving. They didn't have good opportunity of work. So people were, in a way, struggling so much. So in the long run, there were people who were suffering inside their own country. And in the chaotic situation, we find a lead character, Jonathan Igbo. Okay, I'm going to read out the summary to you, and this summary is available on gradsaver.com. I'm going to read out the summary from this site. And the summary says, the narrator introduces us to Jonathan Igbo, a man who considers himself very lucky after having survived the Nigerian civil war, which has just ended. Not only has most of his family, his wife, Maria Igbo, and 3 of the 4 children survived with him, but he has even managed to hold on to his bicycle. Because of his luck, he embraces the way his neighbors now greet one another, happy survival. Though he knows his bike is nowhere as valuable as his family is, keeping it was also a miracle of its own. He almost lost the bike during the war when an army officer dressed in rags attempted to commandeer it. Sensing a certain lack of grip and firmness in his manner, Jonathan guessed that the officer might accept a bribe in exchange for bike. After the army officer complied, Jonathan buried the bicycle for safekeeping in the same clearing where his son and other casualties from the camp were buried. After the war, he retrieves it still in good condition. Feeling blessed with the good luck, he muses, nothing puzzles God. He returns to his sentiment time and again when contemplating his good fortune. Using the bike to start a taxi service, he soon accumulates a small fortune. Which funds his return to his hometown, Enugu. Using the bike to start a taxi service, he soon accumulates a small fortune which funds his return to his hometown, Enugu. Though it is small and hand constructed from zinc, wood, and cardboard, it has survived relatively unscathed, whereas most of the surrounding bigger buildings have been destroyed. Having returned to early, most of the wreckage is untouched. He collects what he needs to repair the house and then hires a poor carpenter for the labor. Soon enough, he moves his family back home and they return to work. His children pick mangoes to sell to soldiers' wives, while Maria makes breakfast cakes to sell to the neighbors. Jonathan himself opens a palm wine bar for soldiers and other people with the money. He occasionally visits the coal corporation where he had worked before the war, but it shows no signs of reopening. After days standing in the line to turn in its rebel currency, Jonathan receives £20 from the government treasury. This payment, which is like Christmas for him and many others, is known as an ex gratia award, or an award given not out of legal obligation but as a gift. Because few can pronounce the term, it is known as a gratia. Jonathan is very nervous about losing the money. After having seen a robbery victim collapse in desperation when he discovered his award has been pickpocketed. To protect his own gift, Jonathan balls the bills in his fist and stuffs his hand in his pocket, keeping his eyes down to avoid running into anyone in his way home. He remains anxious during the rest of the day and has trouble falling asleep that night. So he made sure that he would keep all those money safely. Soon after he finally drifted off, he wakes to the sound of someone knocking at his door. It is extremely late. He asks who knocks, and the man identifies himself as Tim with him, sick people. But Maria immediately screams for help, and Jonathan and the children soon join her, calling to both the neighbors and the police. They stop after a few moments to hear only silence. The thief leader then mockingly offers to help, leading his chief chorus into even louder cries for help. Jonathan realizes there are at least 5 other men with the leader. Having proven his point, nobody will come to help the family. The thief leader mockingly asks if he should now call for soldiers. Jonathan tells them not to bother. The thief leader then asks for £100 and insists they will not hurt the family. He wants no civil war again, only a civil peace. Swearing he only has £20 to his name, Jonathan offers it to them. Some of the group insist he must be lying and insist they search the house. The leader silences them and accepts the £20. The next morning, neighbors visit to express their sympathy. They find the family already hard at work preparing for the day. Jonathan strapping a wine jug to his bike, Maria cooking breakfast cakes, and his son cleaning old wine bottles. It is as if nothing had happened last night. Jonathan tells his neighbors that the loss of the egg ration money was nothing to him, as he had lost much more than that in the war. He ends by saying, "Nothing puzzle gods." That's the story of civil war. That's the story of civil peace, written by Chinua Achebe. Now time for question answer. I'm going to pick a few of the short question answer from the exercise book. And the first question goes like this. Why did Jonathan think of himself as extraordinarily lucky? Jonathan thought of himself as extraordinarily lucky because he got happily survived the civil war with his wife and children. What are the 5 blessings for which Jonathan is grateful? The 5 blessings for which Jonathan is grateful are his head, his wife Maria's head, the head of 3 out of the 4 children, including the bicycle and the house. Why did Jonathan mistrust the officer who wanted to take his bicycle? What does this tell you about situation in Nigeria? Jonathan mistrusted the officer who wanted to take his bicycle because he seemed to be amenable to influence. He saved his bicycle, giving him £2. It reveals corruption and dishonesty prevailed in Nigerian society as the effect of civil war. What visitors might be at the door? Are Jonathan and his wife completely surprised? Explain. The people who showed up at the door are thieves. They are not completely surprised. That's why they cry hysterically for help. Why does no one in the neighborhood respond when the thieves pound on Jonathan's door? Why do the thieves call for the police? No one in the neighborhood responds when the thieves pound on Jonathan's door because they are scared of thieves. They call for the police to make fun of Jonathan and his family. The thieves call for the police to make fun of Jonathan and his family. So let's discuss the question reference to the context. What does Jonathan mean by his expression, "Nothing puzzles God"? What does this expression reveal about his character? Explain by citing details from the story. So Jonathan is a very religious man. He uses expressions like "nothing puzzles God." That indicates his deep religious faith in God. Jonathan repeatedly utters the expression for positive outcomes like the survival of his home and his family. These all are blessings and miracle for him. And in bad situations like coal mines closing and robbery, he uses this kind of statement. He is willing to accept that he cannot control the forces of fate and instead focuses on the future. He successfully manages the chaos of the war and its aftermath by accepting both good and bad events as the will of God. By attributing events to God, he accepts his disability to change things and have already come to pass. This makes him focus his determination on working for the future instead of indulging in self-pity. So another question is, how does Jonathan change as he experiences the conflict in his life? Explain. Jonathan makes himself free from agonizing about the experiences of the civil war and its after effects. Even his son died, but he didn't overreact or dwell upon the problem he is facing. He exhibits a happy tone even in the face of hard times. He becomes more willing to get rid of material and monetary things to preserve what he cares for the most is his family and their life. This willingness allows him to use his energy constructively in the present instead of having negative emotions for the past. His optimism remains unshakable throughout the story. So another question is, Nigerian English has words like soja for soldier and katakata for confusion, trouble, derived apparently from English words but transformed by native English phonologies. What does the author's use of dialect here add to the story? Achebe has blended both standards and local languages to make the story real. He uses these languages to differentiate the protagonist from thieves outside the door. Their dialogue draws significant attention to this inconsistency. The use of dialect has created authentic Nigerian characters. He has invented a new form of English, a Nigerian English dialect, to show the bicultural heritage of his nation. Next question is, why do you think the thieves who come to rob Jonathan speak English with a heavier African accent than Jonathan does? The verbal accents contrast English spoken by the thieves in a heavier African accent and the poor English spoken by Jonathan. The way thieves making fun of the family's call for help only reinforces these differences. For example, the family cries out, "We are lost," but in a heavier English accent, the plea becomes, "We don't loso." Achebe makes use of English with an African accent for three reasons. The differences between speeches suggest that Jonathan is better educated than thieves. Also, the use of English accuracy reflects Eastern Nigerian society. Lastly, the broken English is used to produce a comic effect in the story. Next question is, the title of the story Civil Peace itself is ironical. Civil Peace from Civil War. Do you think that the title of the story is appropriate, or would Civil War have been a better title? Explain. Achebe uses the title to highlight the violence which is still present in a post-war Nigeria. Though the war has come to an end, the area is still chaotic and filled with disagreement. The war leaves a tremendous amount of destruction. Jonathan gathers up what he can to rebuild his life. Even a group of thieves use the term civil peace when they rob Igbo and his family. Moreover, the violence that was common during the war is not gone, and things are not much better for common people like Jonathan Igbo. The story follows Jonathan Igbo, who collects the fragment of his life after the end of the Nigerian Civil War. It praises the power of positive thinking through Jonathan's success. This shows that people are hopeful for a bright future after the end of the Civil War. The writer thus gives more emphasis on civil peace than civil war. So, the civil peace is an appropriate title for the story. Okay, that's all in this video. I hope you got a bit kind of insight for this story, Civil Peace, written by Chinua Achebe. If you have any comment regarding to the video or questions regarding to the chapter, you of course can drop comment on the comment box. Thank you so much and happy learning.